Well, guess what, guys? It's time to get stuck into this best-of-3 series for 5th place here in the South Korea League. The stage has been set, and the casters have taken the podium. And joining me, it is Luke, Emmy.
Hello.
It's been so long. I'm so happy to be working together.
Woo, 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 woo. When was the last time? The last time would have been...
I was thinking about this. The last time was in February at Six Invitational when your beloved Stein Happers was he had a bit of a case of the man flu, I think. He just wanted to sit inside and play video games. So I stepped in and helped you out on the cast. And
it was perfect. It was beautiful. Hap has a real habit of getting injured. Is Mandy as accident prone as Hap?
No, she's pretty healthy to my knowledge.
I mean, it might just be Hap. I thought it was just analyst duos that struggle with not hurting themselves. Yeah, welcome.
The color casters are a bit special.
Is this your first cast of the split?
For Korea, yes. I've done some other ones, but this is my career debut, and it's crazy because today we qualified 2 teams to the major, and I feel like the stage has only just started. Like, we've only done 1 week of most of the leagues I'm working on, and here we are. I mean, this is a 5th place match, but it qualifies a team to the last chance qualifier. It's a very early last chance you're qualifying for.
I think that's, I mean, I haven't double checked it because I'm lazy, but will this be the first teams confirmed for Atlanta today?
It will, to my knowledge. I don't believe there are any other leagues going on at this exact moment. And so, yeah, by the end of tonight, in about 6 to 9 hours' time, we should have 2 teams qualified to Atlanta.
And as you said, neither of them are these 2 teams. If you've missed any of the build-up, this is for 5th place. WEBL versus BNA. Both of them lost yesterday in slightly different fashions. Let's see who can actually take it. Because it was, if you were to put the games side by side, intensely different games.
Oh, yes, very much. And, of course, because there has been a slight delay between when we did our little pre-desk and started this, it's okay to re-go over some stuff. Both WEBL and BNA are new teams to South Korea League, right? Like, with these, if you watch Stage 1, these would not be very familiar to you. But they have some potential, and we saw that with particularly WEBL in the group stage. They had 2 good wins, one of them over La Vega and one of them over BSG, both really strong teams from Stage 1. BNA, however, like you were saying, had a pretty tight game yesterday. An absolute marathon of a BO3, where I think everyone, especially the players, were probably glad that it was finally over at the end of Skyscraper. But hang on a second, Emmy, what are we looking at?
I mean, I think we're looking at WEBL going for a bit of pace. They're inside the site. Nobody else is. They miss the moment of them swinging in. The covers come across the smoke. They're sprayed through the soft, and Temmie gets removal. Naps gets the opener. And we're about to have a post plant quite early. Islet does some damage. There's air jabs fired everywhere. Baguette gets a kill over the top. Naps goes down. It's a 4 versus 2. Baguette has taken some damage, and they weren't able to actually confirm the kit. So, just a reaction here in time for BNA. It's a pacey way to start.
Yeah, well, that's one way to wake you up, Emmy.
Yeah, I didn't expect
early
that.
over in the UK.
It's about 9 in the morning I started.
Off,
yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm glad that WEBL is here for you, Emmy, to wake you up out of your stupor, and absolutely BNA are ready for it. They have started this game hot on the trot, and credit to them for withstanding that rush, because it's always a challenge to withstand rushes like that. We could see from the top down that there actually weren't any BNA players in either tellers or bathroom sites. And on paper, that should mean that WEBL is able to get a rush off, especially when you've got a shield like Blitz. Fortunately, as you said, WEBL not able to plant that diffuser before the retake happened. If that diffuser had gone down in a position that was maybe possible to cover in a post plant, even if WEBL are in a 2v4, they can probably make that work. Unfortunately, they lost the numbers and the diffuser, and so BNA, a fairly simple way to retake that, and a great way to kick off the series.
I'm a bit curious how it went wrong. Obviously, things happened super fast. I don't know about you, but my feed stuttered a little, but we're getting it beamed in from Korea. That makes sense. But
10 seconds to go.
They should have at least been able to confirm the diffuser based on how quick people were falling, based on what they had. It was, I think, a blitz going for the plant. I think they were just tucked next to the window as well. I don't remember there being a C4 or anything, or any sort of ranged explosives that popped in on, but it's first round of the day. We're still waking up. It's 9 in the morning. I'm hoping my coffee catches up with my brain quickly. I hope we don't have... We need more rounds of that, but in like 4 rounds time.
We'll try and ease into it, but it doesn't look like Weeble are looking to do so. Of course, BNA are to many people the favored team. They have the head-to-head record against Weeble 7-5. That was on Oregon back in mid-August in the Summer Cup. But Weeble, of course, had a stronger start to Korea. They are reeling to bounce back from their embarrassing 14-3 loss yesterday. Let's see how they do now in the second round. There's actually a little bit of an exchange going on around here with a Weeble player just around the corner from J1. And I think he knows.
I mean, this is that sort of cat and mouse game. Obviously, when you're a Solus, you can see when they're trying to get the handle on you. He knows drones are rolling close. Coupe...
He's got no clue.
He has no idea. Oh, get ready for some free cam, baby. I'm warning you now. I'm not sure who the observer is, but they're definitely trying their best to incorporate free cam. I like free cam, but I think it's definitely teething issues time for anybody using it.
Well, I just love the fact that we get to see something a bit different.
Yeah.
But my question is, will we get to see an engagement between the Sledge and the Solus? I mean, Coupe has been down here for a hell of a long time and has absolutely no clue. J1 biding his time. Of course, being the Solus, you can always deny the plant from below, but it more effectively could be a well-timed flank. Oh no! Spots the player, but not the trigger discipline. And now the Solus is, in effect, trapped.
Yeah, they're sort of stuck, but with a minute on, they have to pay a bit of focus to it. And at the same time, this gets a kill. You're going to ping some feet. You're going to see if you can spray through, but there's a hard wall there. They open up an angle, and they actually lean into it, and we look away from the fight at the worst time. J1 is still standing, but they're able to try and, not survive any longer. However, it takes about 20 seconds out, 25 seconds out of the push. They're trying to focus. In the meantime, Temmie's locking down the top floor as well. Gets another lean.
Yeah, that may be enough time wasted here, Emmy. As not only has there been 2 players now advantage for BNA, but there's just not a lot of map control to work with for Weeble here. Having a look, Coop might be able to find one. Ran in the corner, knows it is a player tucked here in office. Doesn't know which corner, does win the fight. Fortunately, to double down would be massive here, but Islet is not going to let that happen. A swift 2-round lead here for BNA, and immediately Weeble respond with a tactical timeout.
It's quite an early tech timeout, quite an early conversation, and I guess they're trying to bring a lot of heat early into this game. They're trying to hit the pace of it. They want to make sure that they get the ground sort of moving and shaking and rolling. This isn't their map. So the fact that they think that they should have sort of maybe taken one here, I'm not quite sure. It's an early timeout, let's be honest.
It is very early. Yeah, I don't think I've seen many games where there's a tactical timeout on round 2. But you can understand why. yeah, exactly. These games, in theory, right? Like you should have about 12 rounds in a match. But taking a tactical timeout in the second or the third of those 12 rounds seems very early. However, keep in mind that Weeble got 7-0'd in their first game yesterday. And if this is just the third of 7 rounds, maybe it is worth taking it this early just to try and course correct, because these have been 2 pretty dominant rounds, right, Emmy? Like, Weeble with that rush in the first round didn't quite land. In the second one, despite finding that pick on the Solus, eventually it was just too slow, too far behind, not enough headway made to try and put pressure on any of the site rooms or the rooms adjacent to site. So I think this is a fair call, as long as Weeble can actually deliver on the promise of this tactical timeout.
Okay, Weeble. What is the conversational change? What is the idea that you want to bring? Because it's been 2 quite quick attempts, but the first was very pointed and didn't quite work. Okay, that's a take. It's pocket play. Sometimes they don't. The second, they seemed like they wanted to always hold shift on the keyboard. They wanted to always keep moving, which Porter can work on. However, not paying attention to what the rest of the team is doing, I think, punished them. Obviously, they're hunting this Solus, right? You know you have the Solus in that position. You've just lost someone up top. And then as soon as you go for the collapse, you also happen to be losing someone elsewhere. And it's this argument of, should you be a little bit more focused on working together?
Well, it can go both ways, right, Emmy? Because in the first round, every player from WEBL was almost in touching distance holding hands on that rush, and that didn't work out either. So, of course, there is a fine balance. And there can be criticisms of the macro game, but often Siege comes down, especially in this current meta, to the micro engagements. Like that one, for example. Aggressive spawn peek from Supreme does land that initial kill onto TJ. The Ash going down isn't a lot of util loss, but it's certainly some massive initiative that WEBL will now have to fight to climb back for.
I mean, this is just that sort of rough opening. Supreme had a really good day yesterday. They kept on getting themselves into these situations where they could sort of hold in and stick and be a problem to get rid of for a lot of teams. Border very thin. You don't have much room to do that sort of play off the back of it. But, you know, what we're seeing here, Naps does get a response to forget, but it feels like BNA carried a lot of that pace from yesterday into today.
And we have finally started to see a bit of progress. Now remember that the bomb site choice here is actually Ventilation Workshop. So underneath this Armory Archives, Armory Lockers Archives, oh my god, I can't speak today and I don't have the excuse of it being early in the morning, Emmy. So good progress made now by WEBL. They've started to put this pressure onto Armory, and we can see through the floor, or through the walls rather, with the outlines, that there are not a lot of roamers upstairs to deal with. WEBL just need to pick up the pace so that they can start to get to that vertical game. This Mozzie really should be a dead man walking.
Oh, they're holding on for now. They're wasting time. Temmie, they've popped a couple of kills so far. There's people not too far away from them. This is what I meant about the free cam. You can sort of get the idea. Like, Supreme's looking up for the angle. Islet's looking up as well. Naps does find Supreme from top to bottom. And here's the moment the Mozzie might strike. They've got to stay still. Oh, no! The distraction!
Wow.
Very
with that, yeah, very rough. With that 3-player lead now, 2-player lead for the attacking side, this is the best chance WEBL have had to get into the game. As we can hear, Islet with that DMR still ringing out. Outside the main door, Inno is waiting. J1 is in a great position to capitalize on any early mistake, but this should get traded now, and the E1D is going to lock J1 in place. They know that he is still in supply, and so they can push into the site and start to force this diffuser down. With 20 seconds left to go, on J1 to make a miracle happen here. 3 players, but Ran is holding the perfect angle. There really is no world in which the Legion should win this fight. Nice little shoulder peek, but unfortunately cannot have the shots to deliver the killing blow. The WEBL, thankfully, on the back of their tactical timeout, finally get themselves on the board.
It's good. I guess that's the best way of sort of putting it there, is that they've been able to react and respond. It's good that they've been able to take a round early into this showing, after obviously how things took a bit of time to warm up, and it also felt a little bit more coordinated. I mean, the spray through the soft towards that position, they were reacting to each other's information, and they were doing it as a unit, which, for me, is a bit of a stark difference to the second round, where it felt a little bit throw things at the wall and hope we get the kills.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Border, right, you were saying before, incredibly claustrophobic map, and one of the few maps in Stage 2 that's actually proven to be attacker-sided. So right now, believe it or not, we have one map, which is a dead 50-50, perfectly balanced, and that's Bank. 78 attack and defense wins. This is globally, I'm talking, so across every Blast R6 region. Border and Chile are the only 2 attacker-sided maps, and that's like 53 to 55%, so only marginally attacker-sided. You don't beat yourself up too much if you're on the attack and you only win 3. Probably still possible to come back with defense. And then all of the other maps are ridiculously defender-sided. Like, we got 4 maps, over 60% defensive favored in this pool. And a lot of teams, especially the lower level teams, tend to make that even more of a stretch. Like, the lower level teams struggle on their attacks more than the more advanced teams. And that may be what we see with these 2, right? Like, these are fighting for 5th place. These are mid-table career league teams. And so I expect their attacks to be more challenging than the defenses.
I think that was what we saw a lot of yesterday as well, especially in the BNA BSG game, is the attacks struggled. It was such a high percentage of defender round wins. BNA had some pace, but then they just could not do the final, sort of 30 seconds of any take. They couldn't quite get the execute down. WEBL, we really didn't get a taste of them yesterday. I think that's just the fairest way of putting it, but still, on a map like Border that forces you into a bit of an aggressive play style, it is going to make things feel a bit sharper. But at the same time, I think it sort of might highlight those weaknesses. Supreme gets the down onto TJ, is concerned about a follow-through, but gets there to offer some support and maybe hold on to the bait of the attack. They're able to get TJ up. He's just creeping his way around. Get isn't quite able to operate onto the back of this swing. Goes right into it, though, but still wins it out.
Damn. Yeah, wow. And with that, I mean, the attack have really got to salvage this round because this is not what they were looking for. J1 has now finished off Ran, and it is getting very, very difficult for WEBL to come back from this deficit. Baguette is still in Fountain and just waiting patiently. 2 players on WEBL, low HP. Admittedly, the same can be said for BNA, as Baguette does go down, but the C4 is not going to make this easier. The Ram will enable some vertical play, but of course the bomb site being Tellers and Bathroom does leave so many opportunities here for BNA to like play on site in safe corners or play around off site and retake. It's just not great for WEBL looking forward here.
I think it was the sort of preparation there of BNA. They guessed where the approach was coming from. They had a lot of bodies stacked up on those 2 individual rooms. And think about what WEBL attempted was just, let's force it. Let's send a few more bodies into Armory. Let's just swing around the sort of core of the stack and angle towards Fountain. And if you put things into that situation, it can be pulled apart by a prep defense. We've had 2 C4 kills this round itself. Of the 3 that have been lobbed, we've had people drop through soft walls. There's at least punished mistake, but with 20 seconds, 3 players, and nowhere near the pressure onto the site, you're a little bit curious how this one has sort of fallen so apart in the opposite corner.
I think that you really got to point to the Valkyrie and Mozzie combo. Now, we can see that Mozzie doesn't actually have any active drones in pocket or in the field, but of course Valkyrie's cameras likely enabled those 2 successful C4s to land and find kills for BNA. Of course, the timer is going to run out there for Naps. He wasn't actually trying to win the round, just waiting it out, knowing that WEBL's chance of getting the win there was not going to happen, so he was just using it as a little bit of an advantageous tactical timeout, opportunistically. But yeah, this is where we start to get a little bit concerned. This should be a 3-3 attack at worst for WEBL. Considering that this is BNA's map pick, maybe you cut WEBL some slack, but we know that when things aren't going well for them, it can spiral, as we saw yesterday. So if I'm WEBL, even if you lose this map, just put up a solid fight. Force BNA to really work for it so that you can move on to Nighthaven Labs with a bit more confidence than we saw when they went on to the second map yesterday.
I think the main point of that attack, it just wasn't that good. As weird as it is to sort of say is, but the context of the site that they were going for, the way that they approached it and the way that they shut down, is it was just a meat grinder. And their response to when they first noticed it was to keep trying to fight through the meat grinder. You know, if you're looking at a defense and if you're looking at how one is set up and you have a player that's playing above that hatch in the position inside Armory, they're trying to cause a problem before they get the drop-off, right? That's all they're trying to do. And you can get the kill on them. But their whole idea is that this isn't really the part of the hold that we want to keep. It's that we want to pull back. We want to move. And they never felt pressured enough to have to pull back. They were happy to just sort of sit there. So even with all those bodies that WEBL was trying to force, because they didn't try and utilize their utility on the take, there was never enough pressure, which they, you know, it's like failing step 0.5 of step 1. And it's just a sort of rough way of approaching the problem. Supreme
Oh no.
Gets the pop out.
Where? Was that? Yeah, I think that must have been detention run out.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty hard pill to swallow here for WEBL. Constantly they are on the back foot. I think it's been almost every single round that BNA have found the opening kill. And there you go. It was indeed an impact run out from the detention wall. Now you can see WEBL are going into counter aggro mode, but it's still not working. You said that Supreme had quite a game yesterday, and that seems to be continuing here. Top form with the 2 opening kills in the penultimate round for WEBL to try and scrounge together a few attack rounds.
Oh, Supreme was consistently a name that kept sort of popping up as well. Generally had a little bit more of an impact on the defense, but I think the team as a general suffered more on the attack. So, you know, if they're feeling themselves here, I think it will lead well to the second half of this game. J1, they were one of the two that I highlighted at the start of this day, them versus Naps as being top performers that weren't quite in their element. And Naps has definitely stepped up a bit so far, but unfortunately for him, the rest of the team hasn't. Only 10 kills across the 4 rounds.
It's 4 kills if you only count the players alive right now.
Yeah, and that's the sort of worry here is a lot of that. 9 of those kills have been just 2 players, Naps and Coop.
Yeah, 2 donuts, 1 breadstick, and then 4 and 5. It's not very well, not very well distributed. That sounds delicious, yeah. Very carb heavy though, which is not exactly what WEBL are looking for right now. They want to make sure that they are active and ready to capitalize on any opening. Now there is an opening, specifically the Armory breach. Unfortunately, without CCTV control, it's very hard to capitalize here. TJ does find the lone player in Armory. Now it's a 2 versus 4, 1 versus 4. This would need to be an ace. There's the second. Still the diffuser. Cold on the ground and caught in a crossfire. J1 goes down and out. 3 kills. Surely the 1v4 dream is not possible. Like I said, this would need to be an ace. Coming into this round, TJ did not have a single kill. And now, looking for an opportunity to plant. The Solus will be able to call this out, but that floor is solid and there is no opportunity to deny.
BNA, please don't mess this up. TJ gets the plant off, gets himself rotated out as well. He's got 2 isolated fights. They might try and bait the defuse and then go for the swing on the back of the player. They've got the move round. They don't know. Oh, they've got their back to him. Supreme's
gonna win this.
They've lined up perfectly.
No!
No, he can't go. TJ gets it. I don't.
You're right there, Emmy?
I want to swear. I want to swear so bad.
I swear right now, I've never seen anything like that. For a player in the 5th round to go from donutting to a 1v4 ace. That is unreal from TJ. Saw an opportunity and grabbed it with both hands. BNA did not read that situation nor play it aptly. The Solus overthought things a little bit, thinking, oh, I can definitely deny this from below, not realizing that while you can see where the plant's going down, that player is on top of bricks. You can't shoot them, you can't impact them, there's no way to kill that player from below. You have to come up and regroup with your teammate, and they didn't clear the cupboard position in CCTV, so TJ was given the freest lineup of their life, and with that, the door has been opened. There was barely ajar, that door of giving WEBL a chance back into this game, Emmy, and now TJ has grabbed it.
I am... Okay. I know I said that the attack of WEBL wasn't very good on the previous round. They got an ace clutch, those aren't the run-of-the-mill, but that was fed to them by BNA messing up. Let's be honest there. They gave 2 bodies on CCT rotates round the back. The player was just sat in the same corner. There's about 30 seconds left of the round. And they send 2 people to try and peek the same angle. Both of them die. They have the Solace underneath. And there's all the hard there at that point. They know that there's a Solace. They open the round and they got the kill. And they're just...
It's going to take us a while to get over that, isn't it? So
yeah,
in order to try and achieve that, I'm going to start focusing on what we are looking at, and that is the next round. There is a Fenrir in play, very powerful operator, but already being countered by this Twitch from Naps. And we've said Naps' name a lot, obviously not the player who just got an ace, that would be TJ, but Naps has always brought some valuable utility to the table, whether it's the line or in this case, the Twitch. But can WEBL actually use that to find the opening kill? Because that is what constantly eludes them.
TJ, the man of the moment. Has he been spiced up? 6 in a row. Got another kill. There goes Coop in the meantime. You'll lose those, at least 2 of the grenades from underneath. J1 sprays through. Timmy
What?
finds Ran same time, but TJ still continuing the terrorizing of his opponents. So far, 7 kills over 2 rounds for the Ash.
Yeah, yet to die as well. And now man advantage for WEBL as Islet and Supreme, both very strong fraggers for the BNA lineup. Great utility in pocket as well for Supreme. Being that soulless, there's a lot of information that can be gleaned as to where this push is coming from, as Islet is the sole player to hold on to site and deal with all these drones that are beginning to flood on through. Feeling a lot of pressure from the player outside the armory balcony that still manages to persist. There's a lot of 1v1s happening here, Emmy, but if WEBL's able to continue to deliver them, then BNA will likely lose this round, and the half will be tied up at the scoreline. DJ, as you said, the player of the moment now with one last kill to find.
You can hear the break coming against the site. TJ's just holding off on the rotate. They're droning out, trying to find the player that's tucked into Fountain. Well, they found them. There's their swing through. TJ. 8 kills, no deaths, 2 rounds. WEBL somehow over there. And that was a much better round, obviously, than the Ace Clutch one just before. It really should be 4-2, but it's still 3-3. It's WEBL have somehow pulled that one back a little.
If anything, Emmy, what the last 2 rounds we've seen has taught me about these teams, particularly WEBL, is how momentum-based this team really is. This is a team where when they are getting destroyed, they will just continue to get destroyed. They will capitulate. We saw that yesterday when they got 7-0'd, 7-3'd by Talon. And now today, as soon as you get one stroke of greatness, one shining light amidst the darkness, and that was, of course, the 1v4 ace clutch from TJ. As soon as that happens, the confidence is back. TJ is completely unafraid of moving into break room and looking for these openings. WEBL as a whole are starting to punish this early aggression a lot more, and it's lending themselves to early numbers advantages, which is the story of Border. Border is all about, getting this early numbers advantage and using the then available map control to find the remaining picks or force down a plant. And it took WEBL a long time to get there, but they finally figured out how to cook up an attack here on Border. Now let's see if BNA can do so a little bit quicker on their own.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
3 apiece, and BNA were quick at points on their approaches, but it could be a different opponent that they're up against. I mean, you talk about momentum, you talk about how important it was there for WEBL's take. It's also something that knocks you. If you're on the back of 2 rounds in a row after having some control there, it does take a little bit to sort of shake the dust webs off and go, you know, oh, that just happened to us. We need to try and piece some of this back together. Getting the drop onto the camera, you know it's there, but you do it for this reason. Up, and now it's gone. Where he forgot where his drone was, though.
I can't believe that there's a LMG pick on the Zephyr. That's a bit of a throwback. Supreme, once again, always so effective on the entry, this time with the T36 in hand. Finding that early kill onto Inno is going to help a lot. We've talked about it, but on Border, your early picks mean everything. And a second one as well onto Ran. Easy ability to clear this Aruni gate and immediately capitalizing on those picks to take some map control. This is perfect from BNA.
DJ is in a position to try and swing into this, and he wants the fight here. They keep leaning in to more of the fights, and Coop gets one at the same second onto Baguette. Supreme is gone, and in a blink, all that hard work of his to get themselves that body advantage is also removed. So it's now down to the support. The C4 doesn't quite catch or stop this break, but will need another EMP here. I think it was just the mute jammer. No, it should be good. Sprays through, tries to stop anyone else that might be a looping utility, and they have that office breach open. They can start trying to think about getting the plant behind the bomb chassis.
Yeah, what's great about that office wall into Archives is you also cut the armory bomb site in 2. But it does mean that you have to land your shots, right? In these long-range gunfights, and we've seen BNA players, we've seen WEBL players, we've particularly like with TJ, you just never know how things are going to go down. DMR on Naps as well is going to be perfect for that long line of sight. J1 is now baited with a breaching charge on the mezzanine door to try and put some pressure on this Solus. Now looking to lurk 90, he's going to make some noise, and that's going to give an opportunity for TJ to peek.
Well, there rolls the flashes. They have the blind on the player, and they knew exactly where they were. They sprayed through to see if they can get out because it is a long, narrow run that they escaped from. There was a player getting into position. The next swing just pops open.
No.
And that is a clean take onto TJ. Naps. He gets a heavy head hit all the way to the back line. 20 seconds. This is a great gun for exactly this purpose. He just needs to time the swings right. There's another player that's sort of dabbling with the dance. There's the pops. There's a second take, a 1 versus 1. But only 10 seconds to try and get this plant down. Didn't want to go for the rotate. J1's going for the fight.
No.
There they are. They're off on the run. They've pulled themselves round. They're looking for it down.
No! Again, Emmy. Absolutely unreal. Another Ash pistol clutch 1 versus 1. I didn't think I'd see 1 today, and I've already seen 2. And with that, BNA just stole a round that was almost stolen by WEBL. As soon as you see that Aruni with the DMR on the long line of sight and the time ticking down, you're like, hey, maybe this clutch is winnable, right? But then the fact that she went prone there and it was read or it was heard by the Ash, it was the nail in the coffin for WEBL, and it's gotten BNA their first attack.
I mean, okay. I might need to make a second coffee if this keeps up. The sort of positioning there from Naps, I don't think they did anything wrong. I think they played that smart. That is really just the Ash getting, A, as you said, the read on where they were, the fact that they were sort of lying down on the other side of the door, but B, there's that little bit of luck that comes through it as well, is, you know, you want to make sure that if you're being chased, you're in a position to get the fight. You want to make sure that you're as far away as possible. Not sure if they had the entire read on where that Ash was to go for that, which is why they maybe didn't want to push further into CC. They, for my money, did things right. And for them, it just did not. I mean, come on. This is... What a couple of rounds we've had, eh?
Indeed. Well, for BNA, they are being pushed here. It's not been easy. There were some rounds that certainly appeared easy, but a far cry from the 7-0 that they achieved the last time they played Border. For WEBL, they didn't likely have very high expectations on this opening map, as it was BNA's pick, and I set the win condition on the desk as that WEBL need to push to map 3 so that they can force it to Skyscraper. That is the win condition for them. And that does mean that they don't necessarily have to win here on Border. I think BNA likely will take this map, Emmy. They have looked like the better team, but they need to dispel any of the issues that were put in their minds by that ace clutch from TJ.
Oh, entirely. Forget with the LMG once again. Now, they played Zofia a lot yesterday and really didn't find much success on the gunfight here. They're trying to follow up and round the corner of the player that's slinked away. Obviously, it is a pulse. They could try and get a read if they wanted. They could try and C4 if they wanted to do that as well, but they're not going to. This is what I talked about. Remember how many rounds ago when I said it's a fallback position and it just takes a bit of utility to clear it? That was actually what I meant there, right there. It took them very little stress. They forced control of that area because arguably they don't entirely want to stick around up there. They want to play this position instead. And, well, Supreme's able to get TJ on the back of it.
Does always seem to be Supreme who finds these openers, doesn't it, Em? But
oh, yeah.
Somehow he's managed to stay alive.
Well, they had the two-body advantage last time, and then it got picked away from them. There's a 3-body. They're going for the plant itself. They're back on the site. There's a player inside the site, too, that Coop just doesn't...
Oh, no.
You know, a bit too locked into the fight ahead of him. And that was a B&A round.
Through and through it was on the back of the 2 G36s, ringing out true for Supreme. And who was on the Ash? Oh, it's J1 on the Ash. Fantastic cover from the both of them. As soon as they identified that waiting control was free for the taking, they could cover a lot of those deep lines of sights towards Harry Potter under the metal stairs, towards Workshop, even getting a wallbang kill onto one of the players in Workshop, and locking down that site, enabling that plan. Beautiful stuff from BNA. Keep it simple. It's one of the most underrated philosophies in Rainbow Six. People go all around talking about, you got to breach this, you got to nade, you got to clear, you got to... Sometimes you just figure out what you need to do to get in the site and plant and cover. And That's exactly what BNA did. They simplified their attack, and they made it work. And now they have match point just over the horizon here. One more round, and that match point will be theirs. WEBL, on the other hand, are now 2 rounds at a deficit. And this does feel like perhaps we will see quite an attacker-favored second half.
BNA, I mean, if anything of that round, it was the most controlled attack round I think we've seen. Obviously, it was the closest to a flawless. You had a very good performance, but it also felt like they knew where things were happening, which, to be honest, has been a little bit loosey-goosey throughout this game. You know, we've seen a lot of not quite full awareness. Baguette trying to get the take with the LMG there. I mean, you said you don't really see it much nowadays.
No. Well, it's because the recoil was nerfed into oblivion. It still really does pack a punch. I think it does like 42 damage, or maybe it's, I don't know how much it is, but it's a high damage weapon. But yeah, the recoil on all of LMGs is pretty shocking now. And that M762, the AR, got a massive buff, and I think does more damage anyway. So you're only picking the LMG for the increased magazine size. Of course, what just happened there? I think there was a 1My disc that caught the Ashes breaching round, denied it from clearing the castle barricade.
Baguette wants to swing round, turns their back to a part of the fight, and instead starts smashing open some of the construction. Supreme, again, you said it, they're able to keep finding bodies back. It wasn't, you know, as quick as some of the other rounds, but the fact that they're consistently getting this opening engagement, pointed them out as a player that played really well yesterday, and that's definitely continued so far. Here, though, the rest of BNA's players, they haven't really been able to get the same bite into their attack. Islet goes down, Baguette also goes down, but gets saved by J1's cover. They almost got 2 kills on the run out there on the swing, but they did lose the thermite.
Electrosensor on!
Yeah, I don't think that'll be the end of the world, but certainly will force BNA to start to rethink their attack here. They can't just leverage a bit of hard breach. There is no longer any hard breach available. Also completely out of nades and Ashes breaching rounds. I'm fairly certain that once the Zofia has been picked up, we will see that Baguette is also out of most of her utilities. So she's got 1 each of a concussion and an explosive. But I don't think that BNA have a lot of tools to really open up avenues here. They need to start brute forcing this and winning some ones. And unfortunately, Naps is already starting to dispel any thoughts that that was achievable for BNA.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
Slowed BNA a bit here. They're taking themselves, you know, I'm going to say more tentatively as they progress across the office. There is still the Solace chance underneath. Supreme's going to see if they can bite and fight on the back end. It's EJ is the one that's going to see if they can try and get the counter on any plant that goes forward, and it's a perfect place for them to play. This shotgun might prove a bit of a problem. J1 even, sorry, pre-fires towards the fight, sort of makes the statement, we know where you are, but, I mean, you heard the cover come across as well.
Yeah, don't think this one's going to work out, Emmy. Supreme has been massive, but it's going to take a huge clutch to make this achievable. Now, this is possible. The plant has to go down on a hard surface. Oh, but no, it's not going down on the hard surface, and therefore can be denied by TJ. The second clutch for WEBL, and it's always TJ at the wheel. All that needs to happen, Emmy, was for them to plant on the bricks.
Right?
They planted half a meter from the bricks.
Yep. Yep. And, I mean, hey, we know that this player knows about bricks. They were the ones on the other side of that planted successfully. It's just time and time again, this keeps happening. And it's not a consistency. You cannot bank on a player playing clutches and winning a game because of clutches. It's not a resource that is one that you can just pull into when you want. It just happens. But if it happens here on BNA's map enough, and WEBL can sort of go, okay, what do we need to talk about before we get to the next one? They could get this in a solid 2 maps.
You know what, Emmy? I really want to see Supreme, TJ, and Naps and J1 on the same team. I think you'd have a really scary roster. I'm trying to build dream. I'm I mean, obviously, we don't know much about the comms, the IGLing. I'm not as tight with the Korean community that I can tell you all of these players' intricacies and who are easy to work with, that kind of stuff. And that all factors into what makes it good. But on paper here, right, you got TJ, who is good at winning unwinnable situations. You've got Supreme, who gets the opening kill almost every single damn round. Naps, who's a pretty well-rounded flex, and J1, who's also another really solid entry. I think you could probably build a really solid roster from these two teams and maybe take a fight to, like, you know, your BSG. Maybe not Talon and Sandbox, but you never know, right? Anything's possible. There's talent in this server right now, that's for sure.
I think that's the main sort of thing as well, is you can see the sort of difference break across it, and we don't, you know, we're not there in the comms, we're not there in the prep. It's a new team. But the biggest struggle, the biggest thing that keeps going wrong is communication. Communication is key to success. And the reason a lot of these rounds keep happening in this way is a lack of communication, is people not having that control, that coordination, and most importantly, the sort of confidence in the calls that their team are making. You'll have one or two players working brilliantly together on certain takes, but then you put them in a slightly different scenario where they're trying to live call and things just go out of the window. And that is, for my money at least, the big difference maker. And raw talent unguided, maybe. But the swing they're in, the single player, Supreme has gone to the back of that. There's at least a pick back up at the same second. Baguette spraying towards another fight.
No.
TJ's able to get one. The C4 underneath. It doesn't matter how many bullets that gun has if you can't make them connect.
Well, fortunately, TJ was actually taken out by a different attacker by the end of it, but of course, you can clearly see that DNA have lost the exchange here, right? 2 players for 3. And as a result, they can get the main hatch open. There's a lot of work to be done to start to shape up for a plant, and a plant is not really going to be possible in a 2-on-3. They really need to find a pick here. There are breaching charges on the Thatcher, and so using them to get some vert on these positions is the next step for BNA.
Another C4 kill, another pop and bit of destruction. What can Isla do here? They're trying to find a catch. I mean, at this point, this site as well, it's so tricky. All 3 players are down underneath.
Got to drop
Hatch
it, right?
drop. Yeah, they're going to get caught here, surely. The flash onto the player inside the cubicle. Naps just needs to swing. But Inno gets it first. WEBL pull themselves level 5 apiece.
Yeah, indeed. That round was a lot more of a tight affair, and it really just came down to winning that exchange there for WEBL. And for me, the final ingredient there was the C4, right? We've got Valkyrie and Pulse in play. We've got a lot of C4s on the board. And landing those Nitro Cell kills when these players are trying to roam clear, it's almost like a little trump card in your sleeve. And WEBL utilized that very well. Both of these teams have been all about the vert game here. The other thing to note is that Supreme lost their 1. Supreme has almost never lost the opening duels, but just simply losing a 1 versus 1 against Ran turned the tide of that game, the round even. So if BNA had simply like won that 1, then it would have been different. But of course, you can't rely on that. It's just that BNA have been fortunate enough that they have been able to rely on that because Supreme has been so consistent. You just, I think you need to have a more well-rounded team. And even micro things, right? Like if Supreme had waited an extra half second to swing from Metal, waited for the player outside of Armory to also swing, or if another drone was sent through, or some flashes, there's a lot of ways to try and skew that engagement into your favor. And unfortunately, BNA have not really been doing that a lot because they've been afforded the comfort of just sending Supreme in. He'll find these ones 60, 70, 80% of the time.
Attackers have located a bomb.
5 apiece, and there are points in this game where that result would surprise you. There's been a couple of round takes. I think BNA should be on map point, but you can't sort of discredit, as I said, the work that EJ especially has done this map and done this sort of fight. This is more like the league play WEBL as well. Yesterday, the problems that we sort of saw, and I talked about it, was Ran was the top performer for the team after coming as the sort of bottom performer in from yesterday. They weren't winning their gunfight engagements. They weren't having those success stories. You take away the 5 kills from the ace clutch from TJ, and there's still 4 players that are generally roughly around positive on their KD. They're definitely having a better fight and bite into a gun game here, which, I mean, fair play. As much as you can sort of say they should be losing this game, they're not. And they're very close to pushing this over. And they have a good habit of winning in OT.
Very true. We will have been to 2 overtimes and won both of them in the group's round robin stage of South Korea League thus far. I mean, at the end of the day, I just really feel like BNA should be winning this map.
Oh, 100%.
This is their map. They have just been the more like fundamental, well-rounded team. And they've also been better at getting the opening picks, but WEBL have been the more consistent team, the more prepared to do... Oh, hello. Is that C4? Oh, no, you tell... I couldn't tell where that C4 went. I got a bit excited. It got stuck on the railing, and now I'm just upset.
I'm sorry. Things happen. Things get
it would
taken
have been
away from me.
massive. Come
Ran
on,
is-
win the one.
Oh,
you got
go.
this.
Oh!
Win it. Yes. Woo! Let's go, Ran. I'm telling you,
was-
it's the comeback, Emmy. It's the comeback.
I mean, they're on the drone the whole time. They've lost 2 players now. I think that was the Jackal that got caught. There's just the swing round, and they get the back of Ran. Ran gets removed from the border. You know, they sort of held that position, whether they were scared of the pressure coming across from the armory side and the server side. TJ, unstoppable entity that he is, underneath they're taking care of the Valkyrie cam. Now, if Temmie gets into a slap fight with TJ, they might be able to play against the Solace gadget. Obviously, IQ can see that and can be the response against it. But with a minute
They kind
on
of
the
counter each other, right? The Solus
Yeah.
can see the IQ can see the Solus. You never know how that's going to pan out.
The longer this timer goes on without action, I worry more and more for BNA.
Supreme's still alive. Anything is possible, but you know, is in a very advanced position. Spots Supreme, takes him down. The immediate trade, that's good use of the vert from Temmie. But it might not be enough, and unfortunately, it is just Temmie now. Fortunately, being the IQ, it's been possible to clear out a lot of those Valkyrie cameras, give the advantage back to BNA, deny information, but of course, advantage now squarely sits with WEBL, as all they have to do is wait. Temmie must find 2 1 versus 1s and or force this diffuser down. TJ just on the other side of this bomb with the shotgun at the ready. Temmie does not seem aware, and it is far too late now to go for the plant. You have to take the 1s, and TJ, of course, will deliver as he does so consistently this game. And with that, Emmy, after all that's said and done, WEBL are the ones with match point.
You... 3 rounds ago, you wouldn't have guessed. And that's how quickly this game has swung into this position. And I'm not even going to sort of say it's been wholehearted. That was, you know, some solid defending there on that sort of site. They kept on having response. But again, you look at the mistakes that are coming out from BNA. Is it the Jackal that got caught whilst on drone of the player right in front of them, and they just sort of hoped that they wouldn't get swung on? And you're like,
Attackers need to locate
you're
and defuse as
you're
many
in
bombs as
border.
they can.
If you don't have active cover, expect you're going to have a fight within 5 seconds, because that is how short the map is. That is how sharp the map can be. And to go from sort of active spray towards droning, but not your immediate surroundings, so someone can just waltz up, cap you, and then a drone. It's BNA shooting themselves in the foot by just these mistakes being punished by a WEBL that has excitedly smelled blood in the water and wishes to feast.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it, Emmy. WEBL probably were going into this game thinking, look, guys, we don't really play border. This is a bit of a write-off. We'll just go to labs. We'll hope that we've made some improvements since our D+ game, and then we'll force it to map 3, where we should be confident, because Skyscraper is a good map for us and a recent loss for them. But as soon as the door was left ajar in that opportunity for the 1 versus 5, the 1 versus 4, the ace clutch from TJ, that is when this game turned on its head. And since then, it's been very much a story of BNA stalling out, overthinking. They keep getting I don't know if tilted is the right word, but it really feels like that's what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing a BNA that keeps second-guessing themselves, and they're getting punished for it.
Will they be able to get this short, sharp lead in here? Naps is droning ahead. The motion to the players. They want to go for the swing. Baguette, you know, I said it before that they sort of have an impact on the defense side, but it comes to attack. They play Zofia, and they don't really do much. I don't think they've been able to get a kill over the past sort of 4 or 5 rounds, really, and it's struggling when you have the potential of that flex support having to just be a utility machine.
What is the game plan here, though, for BNA? They're the ones who are fighting from behind, yet to have found the opening pick. Supreme has found an opening kill. I was going to say cooled off a little bit in the last few rounds, but immediately I say Supreme's name, and the Yana decides to go massive. Here's a Yokai drone taken out now. Naps only has 1 available left, and it is still in Archives. Now, this Mute Jammer is stalling out the breach from Ace, but the Thatcher can come on over. There is a chance here, Emmy. BNA have all the pieces. They just need to start executing.
Wow, that's Cube somehow surviving the full scrape. Drone out on the back of it, but they are on a fraction of health. However, they can still maybe try and long arm a C4 from this position. They can cut off close with that shotgun. It just takes a little rock and pop for it to be locked down. They have TJ reading everything about the approach. They have TJ with impact underneath. Hey, where have we seen this before? How about a few rounds ago where they locked it? Hey, they're on the bricks, James. They're hitting the bricks.
Yokai has to deny this.
Oh,
the C4! I don't know how that came out of nowhere, Emmy, but it apparently landed, and that is exactly what Coop needed to do. You already mentioned it, but the Yokai has now been taken out. And in this 4v4, it's going to come down to the retake and the over-aggression from WEBL. J1 has been able to punish Naps, but the plant has once again been denied.
That was TJ from underneath. They opened up the angle. They're looking for another fight from it. They know that they're planting. It's the swing round that comes against it. 17 seconds here, WEBL. They just have to hold on in the 2 versus 2. We've seen 3 players pick up and try and plant that diffuser. 3 players have died on the back of it. It is TJ once again. He's hopped up. He's going for the spray. He can't make the connection. They found the one pocket that he cannot quite see. A 2 versus nobody. As we look at those.
What a way to send it to overtime, Em. What a way.
We're going to overtime.
We're going to overtime. Can I do my Tim impression?
We're
perfect. Going all the way, Des.
It's like
we're going to overtime.
Them attempting the plant in the same position 3 times, right? So the first time, let's go over it. So 3 players died going for that plant. The first one was to a C4, right? That happens. I mean, it shouldn't have happened. Coupe went real brave with no health, swung that C4, it connected. The second was the Solus from underneath. Now, you're right, on that bricks position, in that corner, they cannot get you directly from underneath, but a clever one can open an impact and arc a shot over the top. Second one falls to that. The third one also falls to that. It took 3 people dying in that one place to go, maybe this isn't where we should plant. They move 5 feet slightly further over, if that, and then they're able to get it down. But it's just, it's a madness from BNA.
That is one way to put it. What's funny is the place that they eventually did plant is almost deniable with the same strategy of standing on top of one of the benches in Workshop and arcing that shot over. But there's this funny little indestructible light shade in the way that you just cannot get the angle on. It's very, very hit and miss trying to plant in that site. And I'm kind of amazed that BNA eventually made it work after, as you said, trying the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. But guess what? We have finally a little bit of spice, a little bit of something different brought to the table from WEBL. On this attack, the very first round of this game, WEBL were on the attack. They went for a blitz rush. They have brought the blitz once again.
There's the quick break. Ran, doesn't run, waits for the drone, and then moves on behind it. Now it's a very noisy operator, but we have seen blitz clears on this map before. They're chasing a Solace. Oh no! This is what I mean about communication! Tell Baguette! that they are running in. Don't just flee. Warn your team. And you've just lost a player because there hasn't been that, or it's just been not clear enough.
But J1 is still upstairs, taking out the 90 flank drone. And there is a chance here to bring back the numbers to BNA's side. However, TJ has snuck back in, doubled back through CCTV, and found a second kill. There is, I believe, a drone on top of the television. Thank you very much to our observer for highlighting that. TJ, funnily enough, actually traded. The two best players in the server are now both dead, taking each other out of the game. But with that all said and done, WEBL has a two-player advantage and plenty of utility to make this execute happen.
And a blitz. They still have a blitz. And a shield in any low player count environment is rocky. One where you have an advantage is even worse because you don't even have to try and use it for kills. You can just use it for pressure. They almost connect the kill on the back there. There's, you know, not an immediate response. They go back to the same position, and Temmie gets torn up. It is just...
Ran, this is your moment.
Yep. One player left. Hello!
Oh, no! No! Not again, Emmy! Do not let this happen again! WEBL, you've clutched up twice. And now it's BNA's turn. It's Islet's turn to take the mantle. The unfortunate indecision, doubling back, being unsure of which weapon to use and making that sound cue enabled Inno to find that closing kill and prevent that 1 versus 4. With that, Emmy, WEBL have finally found match point.
I'm emotionally drained. It's been, I mean, this is like...
This has more plot twists than Season 3 of Game of Thrones.
It's crazy. And this is why there's a few casters that work the Tier 1 region that have a love-hate relationship of casting Border. Some of them hate it. Some of them love it. I really enjoy Border because this game can happen a lot more commonly than it doesn't. And it's chaotic. And I wish I'd had an extra hour of waking up to truly give it the screaming it deserves. But at the same time, it's you never know what's going to happen next. It's impossible to expect what is going to be the next few steps.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of Border, right? You can have a great plan, you can play great macro, but at the end of the day, sometimes a player will just swing, and that can really turn the tail of a game. And we've seen that with two players in this server, mostly Supreme on the entry and TJ on the clutch. And one of those on either side of the server, both of them 16 and 17 kills respectively. Well, when it comes down to a match point and BNA have the attack once again, will they be able to do what they did 3 times in regulation and push us to a 15th round, or will WEBL finally put this game to bed?
Who knows? They're somehow going to have it as maximum OT. I think
we're going to go infinite OT. It's going to come down to a 1v1 in the final round of round 15. And then
somehow,
TJ is going to deny the plan from below.
Yeah. Somehow it's just going to keep perpetually spinning and twirling. Okay. Let's see what the next sort of breakthrough here is. It's 7-6. As I said, WEBL, you know, this wasn't really supposed to be their map. It really shouldn't have been their map. They have looked better the longer the game's gone on. There's no two ways about it. From all those rounds that Clutch's crazy steals, they have looked more in demand, more in control of what is going ahead of them. Again, as a sort of, you know, you never want to truly highlight the negatives here, but the success of the Sophia hasn't been consistent. The fact that they're here trying to work on their own on this push, you're sort of screaming out for Islet to maybe pay some attention towards them, offer some support. It's also helped by the observer watching them for a lot.
I do wonder whether there will be opportunities for vertical C4s from WEBL here, because they have fully forfeited that top floor. While there isn't actually a Valkyrie, there is this Capcan, which has been dispatched with quite well by Temmie, doing a really good job on this IQ. Still, C4s could be used in tandem with the goo mines to try and find vertical kills, or even just sound cues. But the opening kill is once again Supreme. 18 and a 2.0 KD to boot. This is an opportunity for BNA to push us all the way to a 15th round.
I mean, you can't say they haven't put the fight in here for BNA. You can't say they haven't been the drive. TJ is driving himself towards a fight. Popped up in the middle of the chairs, but it's Naps that has the cover on that. There's Supreme, though, still putting more of a bite in. Temmie's going for the cover. The plant was attempted for a second, but Ran suddenly gets a double kill. And now they don't feel safe about the plant. If Isla had stuck that, it would have been a post plant. And I'm not sure what's happening.
Well, it looks like at the moment the three defenders are just biding their time. They're looking to play retake. They're the ones with the match point. TJ has perfectly evaded Temmie, who's still hiding in CCTV, looking for this kill. Islet has to go for the plant, and Temmie falls off, looking to cover. But he can't cover both the door and the rotate hole, and thus the clutch will come through from WEBL. The plant denied, the final dagger shoved into BNA's back by TJ, and WEBL steal a map with an unbelievable comeback, and it all started with one guy, TJ, and that 1v4 clutch.
I mean, it was just... it was a hell of a performance. I compound sort of my points about that map of lack of trust on communications there. Not going for the confidence of the plant. If they'd have planted, they would have pulled it off. They would have had the cover from above and below. They would have had a chance. And they just stopped. And whether they thought the player was still pushing, they got a double kill. I mean... It is, I'm not going to say a tragedy, but it's not easy to swallow.
Absolutely not. And for WEBL now, they have a massive chance